The abortion fight, Roe versus Wade. Last 24 hours have only been about the Supreme Court decision here in the US. But what is being said abroad? What do people talk about and how do they talk about it? If that's of interest to you, stick to this video and hit the thumbs up button. So I am Anne, the little Frenchie in Big Texas. Welcome to my channel. And here I am taking you on a little world tour of what's being said, the headlines, if headlines, on the last Supreme Court decision, which is not called Roe versus Wade abroad, it's just called abortion fight here. And first of all, when I say abroad, I'm going to limit it to a certain number of countries because I cannot look at all the newspapers everywhere. I don't speak all the foreign languages either. So of course I'm going to cover France because it's actually been the strongest headlines. But aside from France, we are going to cover the UK, Germany and Spain on the European side, as well as Argentina for South America, and a quick look at Australia. So a bit of World War news in French, English or Spanish here, and a tiny bit of German, but really, anyway, there wasn't much on that side, so that's safe. And first, to put it into perspective as well, when you see the reaction with the countries, you also have to take into account whether it is a secular state or not. Meaning certain countries, like France, for instance, or the UK, are what we call in Latin laïc, meaning there is no religion. People are free pretty much to have any religion, and the state is not based on religion. So, you know, in the US, it's the coin with "In God We Trust" and so on. We don't have that back home. So just to put it into perspective, and opposite, if you look at Latin America, they are pretty religious. So you have different backgrounds, culture, religion to take into account in the reaction coming from these countries. Just to put it into perspective. But first, so I opened the newspapers and looked at the headlines. What do we have? In certain countries, that abortion fight has not made it to headlines. So I looked at Die Welt in Germany. I scrolled down and down and down, and I actually had to Google Biden to find the article. There wasn't that much, so not big news over there. Same in Argentina. I looked. It was on the front page, but rather at the bottom, and it was very factual, meaning they were not taking position here. Very factual on here what has been decided. Some very good maps actually that I enjoyed looking, share with you here. First map, which states will be the first in putting limits on abortion? And the colors here speak for themselves. But they go on into more details as to what kind of limitation and what are they, whether it's at conception with the list of states, on week number 6 or week number 13. Another map here looking more at what has been done over the last 10 years. So quite a lot of facts on the Argentinian side. Same with Spain. It's there, but really at the bottom, you know, informative as well, no stand. So for Spain here, not much in El Mundo, but some good articles in El País. The first one looking at the root cause of the whole ruling, a bit more on a historical perspective, trying to understand. And the second one highlighting the polarization of the country, the division, the society division within the United States. And here the picture speaks for itself. Then let's go to the Brits here, UK and Australia, because it's a bit on the same line here. Commonwealth country, okay, same line. Interesting headlines here. Let me read them over to you. I like the wording because they all take the same wording of the Biden speech here. Supreme Court has made terrible decisions. That gives you, you know, the where they stand already. US President Joe Biden says the Supreme Court has made some terrible decisions the day after it ended the constitutional right to abortion. Demonstrators are taking to the streets again. Dozens of protests are planned around the US over the weekend. States have vowed to become safe havens for women seeking abortions, and it goes on. So now, looking at the Australian side, you have failed us. US braces for more protests, with thousands of protesters expected to pour onto US streets and so on. Same line as the UK here. Now the Financial Times, still UK, abortion battle shifts to US Congress and midterm elections. Democrats seek to depict Republicans as dangerously out of step with Americans heading into November vote. The most interesting one is actually back home, France. Because France is extremely, it's a right to abort back home. It's a right that people have fought for, that's very well known, it's taught in school, it's part of history. And the reaction is extremely a very hard stand against the Supreme Court decision here. They are not, putting the facts as such. They are taking a stand and attacking against it. So it's probably the strongest reaction of all the newspapers and the countries I checked. France is the toughest here. Including going into the controversy of the Supreme Court judges and the fact that the last three conservatives were named pretty quickly by our former president here, Donald Trump. Look at this one here. They lied under oath. Big controversy following the decision of Supreme Court justice regarding abortion rights. So you have the famous pictures here of SCOTUS. But what's interesting is what follows. 3 judges named by Donald Trump are being accused by many Americans to have lied on their intention during their Senate hearings. Continuing here on Le Figaro, which is rather a right-wing newspaper, right to abortion cancelled in the United States. Biden says it's a tragic mistake and Macron is calling to protect these fundamental rights. It's a terrible blow, according to the French president. That's a fundamental right for all women and we have to protect it. And it continues with the French Prime Minister, a woman who says it's a very dark day for the women's rights and we are in full compassion and solidarity with all the women in the United States and in the world. Finishing saying, we will never give up our rights. Never. And Emmanuel Macron calls to protect this fundamental right. And it's more than a call here. They're actually looking in France to include it in the Constitution as a full right. Kind of your Second Amendment and so on. They want to include it as an amendment, the freedom to abort, So it's very extreme. And that is just happening now because of the SCOTUS decision. So it's really a reaction to the US decision here. So very, very hard stand on the French side. And just a little note here for France. So yes, it is a right, but it is a right that has rules. It's not like open for all, anywhere, anyhow. You have to be within 12 weeks. Or there has to be certain conditions, whether it's been a rape, it's been, medical conditions and so on. So there are exceptions. But otherwise, the rule is within 12 weeks. Moving back to the new continent here with a tweet from Justin Trudeau, Canada, saying that the news coming from the US are horrible, that he's with all his heart with the million of Americans who have legally lost their right to abort. He could not imagine the fear and the madness that they must have and feel in this moment. Kind of fueling the division and the flames here with the words used, don't you think? And to finish, an article I found interesting on the way the abortions were going to move underground in half of the US and how it could work with the creation of virtual mailboxes and making pretty much virtual or telehealth phone appointment with doctors being in states where you can abort, like California, Colorado, New York, New Jersey, getting the prescription from there, the abortion, the magic pill, and then getting it shipped through this virtual mailbox to them without having to leave Texas, Mississippi, and so on. So I'm not too sure how this is going to work. It was an interesting article I found exploring that underground way to go around the decision being taken right now. So I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. More to come. I try to comment the news as I see fit and relevant. And check out my prepping videos as well and everything we do here in the greater Houston area or on the homestead. Thank you all for watching.